finalizing phase of our IB Language A Literature study of poetry and Shakespeare, my partner, Lara, The Loneliness of the Military Historian by Margaret Atwood and Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. We have prepared a performance of an oral presentation for our audience. The purpose of this is to compare and contrast the societal and cultural differences from the Roman time period to our modern era, focusing mainly on our characters' roles as women from these times. The intent of this is to reflect our understanding of the societal connotations of being a woman that would change and develop from the two eras represented. We also aim to elucidate upon the techniques used by both writers to present the different ways poems can be interpreted based upon one's own culture, generation, gender, and ethnicity.
We will be comparing Margaret Atwood's portrayal of woman to Shakespeare's by creating a fictional time warp in which Margaret Atwood and Portia from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar will meet in a rip in time. The two will collide, and conflicting views about their roles as women from their own societies will demonstrate a clear evolution of cultural normalities. To demonstrate our knowledge and understanding, we will also be annotating and analysing the ways in which literary techniques and language have been used to achieve the purpose of both the play and the poem. By doing this, we also aim to achieve our purpose of constructing an engaging presentation that provides an insight into the complex themes and implications of the work study.
During the presentation, Lara will be acting as Portia and I will be acting as Margaret Atwood, a Canadian poet born on November 18, 1939, known for her feminist works. The Loneliness of the Military Historian is a blank verse poem which represents the societal flaws and connotations of being a female that has been experienced by the stock character, the military historian, who is a realist that believes she must put on a persona in order to fit into society.
Portia was a Roman woman who lived in the 1st century BC. She is mostly historically recognised by the identity of her husband, Marcus Brutus. Portia's prose is taken from Act 2, Scene 1, in which the tone is very condescending. She aims to portray herself as superior to the women around her because of her powerful father and husband.
The act will now commence. Yes, hello, this is Miss Margaret Atwood. May I please speak to the publisher? Yes, hello, it's Margaret. I would like to inform you of a new poem that I've been working on, The Loneliness of the Military Historian. The subject matter? Well, the poem is about a military historian, a female, may I add, who is constantly conflicted between the societal expectations of war and women. Why I decided to write this? Well, as you are aware, I am a feminist. The purpose of this poem was to question the audience's beliefs on what they believe women's roles in war should be, and to present them with a new perspective, a perspective which enthralls the minds of the young who aspire to be in war, of course. Yeah. The audience? Well, I specifically aim to target the people whom are oblivious to war, who only train their thoughts by what is heard by the media, not by the people who research it firsthand, like the military historian. I also aim for people to vicariously learn the results of their actions through my poem.
Such woe is this, such loneliness and fear. Fear from Octavius and Antony's inflating power, and loneliness from the absence of my dear Brutus. Tonight I shall consume not darkness, but a searing and brilliant flame.
What was that, Hurtling? I demand that thee come about instantly, or thee wilt suffer consequences.
Who speaks such nonsense? Reveal yourself immediately.
Hurry thee, who art thee?
Cometh hither. What? Excuse me? But who are you? Whoa. You again? God, excuse me, but who are you? And where are we?
Excuse me, excuse you. Who are you? And why do you dress like a man? And have your hair short, like a man? Are you a man?
Am I a man? Pardon me, young lady, but that is extremely rude. These are pants, and they're quite in fashion. Actually, it's the 20th century, you know, not the Roman Empire. Who do you think you are, a Roman woman?
Actually, that is exactly where we are. And that is exactly who I am. I am Portia, daughter of Cato and wife of Brutus.
Oh my. The Portia Catonis? I love Shakespeare. I am Margaret Atwood, a renowned poet and writer in the 20th century. I'm from 1995, so I believe we must have fallen through a time portal?
Surely this wench must be insane.
Pardon?
I said nothing.
Okay. Wait, Portia, what's that? Appearing at the back of the room.
Silence, crazy wench.
Portia, look! Whoa. Wait a second. That's my poem. What's that doing up there? Well, as we're both here and my poem's there, would you mind reading it over for me? It would be an honor.
Me? A woman? Check over work? Well, I am the wife of an army general, you know. I'd love to judge it.
Okay, well, I started the poem off like this because it immediately obtains the reader's attention. What profession must be so alarming?
Only the job of a man that a woman steps up to do, of course.
That's true, actually. I guess so. Women and war are not normally correlated as such, and thus the speaker of the poem, being a woman who works as a military historian, is bound to provoke some confusion.
I agree, and you also use juxtaposition. I mean, the diction changes from words with positive connotations, such as sensible and unalarming, to words with negative connotations, such as mutter or scream. I can only assume that the purpose of this is to contrast how she is expected to act in society with how she would had she been given the freedom of choice.
Exactly. I follow this with a simile on line 12, like a third-rate actress chewing up a mad scene to create a vivid image within the reader's minds of two very opposing ideas. It often describes how people see military historians that are female as a raving prophetess and a rational thinker.
What two ideas?
Well, one is where the military historian is portraying herself to society as a modest, respectful woman, whereas the other is a disheveled woman wreaking havoc within her bathroom, a place so private only her reflection may see. Enjambment is used to represent that this confirmation is an implication for the military historian, as she has so much pressure from society to conform to their expectations of women.
Atwood. Atwood, please, did you not proofread your work? Clearly you refute your own arguments here. You say that women should not contemplate war, should not weigh tactics impartially, should evade the word enemy, and view both sides without denouncing anything. I must say, I do agree.
No, Portia, you've completely interpreted wrong. Have you not heard of verbal irony? Clearly, I was using irony to say that women should contemplate war and should weigh tactics impartially. As stated in stanza 7, the military historian deals with tactics.
But what is the purpose of that?
Well, I specifically stated that to allow readers to elaborate, to dramatize my perspective, and to state the obvious: women should have the same status as men in war.
If you say so. You also use imagery to create a connection in the minds of the audience of Women to Peace, as if our only role in war is to aid and not attack, as is the role of men. As women, we must remain a symbol of peace, a light within the darkness. We should not be worrying about war, and we should not risk tainting that sacred connection by going anywhere near the battlefield.
Portia, well, in the next few lines, I depicted women as strong-willed, using emotive language to paint a vehement picture within the minds of our audience in order to provoke emotion.
I see. What do you mean by that, though?
Well, as you can see here, come to the back of the room with me. Over here, I chose to describe this whole thing as a vehement picture. It's portrays lots of emotion and allows readers to come in. Don't you reckon?
I agree. Move on.
Oh, well, I reckon women should fight, don't you reckon? Not endure?
Well, in my opinion, although women suffer so much at the hands of men at war, it is not our role to fight back, but simply, as you said, to endure.
Portia, no, it is not women's role to endure, but to definitely fight back. In stanza 2, line 8, I mentioned women spitting themselves on bayonets. Is that not why you wish to commit suicide? Is that not you fighting back?
Of course not. Women do not commit suicide to be conflict in war, or to, as you say, fight back. People from my time are praised for taking their own lives, because they would rather die than risk tainting the reputation of Rome and dying at the tip of an enemy sword.
I simply do not understand how you're willing to stand by while men do the pillaging, the murdering of our husbands and our children. How can you just stand by and the most you're willing to do is to end your life yourself? Are you mad?
Am I mad? Poor, Margaret Atwood, if you are so so opposed to the idea of suicide, then why do you mention it twice in your poem?
I mention it twice because I am angry. I'm angry that the only way we get to defend ourselves is to end our lives. I'm angry that men get to split the skulls of our babies and rape and pillage as they please. I'm angry that the only thing us women are left to do is to mourn and to end our lives. Why, Portia, why?
Do not ask me, Margaret Atwood. I do not know why things are this way. I simply know that this is the way war has been in the past, it is the way war is at present, and it is the way war will be forevermore. There is no questioning, just acceptance. Moving on. You also juxtapose two opposing moods here. The tone changes from morbid imagery to humour, and this is also known as bathos. You also compare the role of women in war to the knitting of socks, meaning that it's not really significant, and the only role for women in war is to morally cheer on the men.
Excuse me, but what is the result of that cheering? What does the cheering cause? It causes people to mourn. Sons, lovers, and so forth. You say that the job is to cheer, that is all that they must do, but what is the result of that cheering, Portia? All the killed children. Now, war is most certainly a taboo subject, even more controversial when women get involved. The military historian knows this. For example, stanza 3, lines 4 and 5. She's aware that dinner conversations are such where uneasy topics should not be brought up, especially the truth of war.
She states that she is about to say a blunt truth, one that is seldom welcome. This truth must be the knowledge that she gains from her occupation as a military historian. This is not as expected to be welcome at dinner, referring back to stanza 1, where she says that because of her profession, she cannot often get invitations out to dinner.
That is exactly right. She's very knowledgeable about her occupation. Thus, she knows a lot about the complexities of war. I've portrayed her as a very simple woman who goes by facts, not opinion.
It is simply reductionism to say that war begins only because the ones who start them think they can win. My Brutus would not have started a war over something so petty. War is much more complex.
Well, what do you propose is the reason?
Well, as a woman, of course, I do not know much about the complexities of war, but as the wife of an army general, it is often impossible to avoid such things. I simply know that my Brutus would not have slain Julius Caesar for solely selfish purposes. He did it for the entire benefit of the stability of Rome.
That's true, but would Brutus have assassinated Julius Caesar, thinking he would lose? No. Brutus, of course, I agree with you. He had bigger reasons, such as the stability of Rome, but he started that war thinking there was a chance he could win. Thus, the root of all wars can be simplified to this one reason, Portia, a fact that my military historian learned long after her profession.
I see.
Now, glamour can be defined as a particular appealing quality of something, and I chose to describe the dreams my military historian had as being inclusive of glamour. My military historian saw malicious battles and men battling against each other every day, and she read about it, so her dreams, her idea, her perspective of glamour was the glamour of war.
Atwood, why would you portray this woman as getting so excited about the glamour of war? We should not be worrying about war. We should be dreaming about lavish clothes and jewelry, the weather. We should be worrying about being good Roman wives and mothers, not war.
But those are so materialistic. Jewelry, clothes, please. Every day she read about the atrocities that people go through. Men, women, children getting slaughtered every day. Do you really think objects would capture her fancy after hearing this brutality?
As a woman, it should have.
I do disagree. Now, metonymy is used in the aphorism, fire against metal, in stanza 4, line 12, where metal refers to the soldier's outfit. This is used because, as it is aware, and as you can see, that the soldier upon the horse must have been attacked also because the horse was slaughtered, and thus one can assume that the soldier upon the horse was attacked. Using this, I've created very strong imagery to represent that the metal that the soldier wears as a hard thing to represent his heart and his strength crashed down, just as in the simile on line 12, like a tower.
See. So the things that
she sees in war are most certainly not romantic.
Yes, exactly, because I follow that with the line, "Oh God, you're so good, you read ahead." I can tell you're very into my poem. I think it's such an odd phrase to say, romance against banality, because it's like saying love against the ordinary, but for some, love is the ordinary. I chose to represent it like this metaphorically, using both abstract language.
In here, you say that she wakes. When she wakes, she knows better. Is this because her occupation allows her to see the realities of war? Oh, I understand now. See, this is why women should not be in war. Such brutal things would scar the mind of a woman. And we should not be worrying about fury, we should be worrying about peace. And such things should not evade space. Such evil should not be on the minds of our women today.
Portia. Well, if you look here in the next stanza, there's a very strong fragment. Not have I made it using irony, but it seems ever so harmless to the narrow-minded eye. Oh, Portia, there are no monsters in war. And you know why, Portia? Must you know why? Because we are the monsters. We are the ones who kill. We are the ones who slaughter, and we are the ones who massacre. Yet even after all of these killings, there is no evil that can finally be buried, as stated on line 2. Now, lines 15 to 17, I use this trope to awaken readers to the harsh realities of the world I live and research every day.
Men. Only men are mentioned in your poem. Why would you want women to face the atrocities and the harsh realities of war that you speak so unapologetically of? Women are not supposed to burst like paper bags or throw themselves on grenades.
Why? Why not? We are not weak beings, and we should have the freedom to fight for ourselves. The righteous men that have, of course, done one of the noblest deeds, sacrificing their lives to save their comrades, will not even live to see their reward. This has been mentioned again on lines 22 and 23. I portrayed the military historian as a very intelligent figure, as evidenced by lines 24 and 25. She knows too much because of the work she has.
There are often deaths in war that are justified. Even the military historian can recognize and value a soldier throwing himself on a grenade to save his comrade. But she does scoff at the fraction of deaths that are caused by rats, disease, and hunger.
Yes, I suppose so. Stanza 6, line 7 has been end-stopped because it shows that she stopped and reflected about how everyone in life dies. Everyone gets to breathe for the first and last time, because everything has a beginning and an end, just like war does.
In lines 1 to 6, I feel that the military historian is sad. She's sad because there are no traces left of the battles and the deaths that landmarks the very field that she walks on herself. The blood gets washed away, the shells and bodies removed, all long gone by the time that she walks there herself. Had she and other historians not existed to record this data, no one would be even aware of the gruesome deaths that happened on the very field under her feet.
Exactly. On lines 9 and 10, I use metaphorical language. Angels represent the soldiers who fought in war, and marble to symbolize their strength. Soldiers brood over warfield, waiting for life to form, but no, nothing hatches, because all they're bringing is death and more death.
I disagree. The marble angels should not represent soldiers, because you also say that they could be represented as vulgar or pitiless, and I can tell you, my husband was neither. My interpretation is that the marble angels represented the headstones of graves of soldiers that died in war.
Why rephrase it as that?
For the brave soldiers that fought and died for their country. My Brutus fought for his country. I also think that you use personification to say that they brood and they can be described as vulgar or pitiless. I believe this is to represent two opposing sides in war, very much how Antony rivaled Brutus. She also has what I believe to be a vulnerable moment. She presses a flower in her Bible, demonstrating that despite her profession, she is still a woman, and she's still very much as human as the society that her monologue is directed to.
I do agree with you on that. On line 17, she says, "I'm just as human as you." I wrote this because, as a final plea of acceptance, I portrayed her as almost desperate